Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. It's good to be back. I took a little bit of a break the last week and a half or so. Huge thank you to Nick for taking over streaming duties while I was away. I know he's helped produce some streams last week, streamed on Thursday last week. Obviously, the deep dive this past Tuesday, so shout outs to Nick. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Mouse. Sleep and sanity were important. I also had some work I had to finish. So, as you can see, I am playing the demo for the Werewolf the Apocalypse Heart of the Forest. I was going to actually stream this a week or so ago, but obviously I took a break. So now I'm going to play through it and give it a little bit of a review. So, and hydrate. And have a cat walk across my keyboard. A surprise tail. Alright, hold on. I gotta move these. She always lays right on the headphone cord. Yeah, you lay right on the headphone cord. I'm sure it's intentional. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna play through Heart of the Forest. I've been told the demo is only about 30 minutes. I'm going in spoiler-free. I haven't watched any reviews or any gameplay of this yet, so I'm gonna give it an honest first reaction. Talk about it for a little bit when I'm done, and then jump in and play some other fun games. Maybe some Unfortunate Spacemen, some Deceit, some Dead by Daylight. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. Maybe if we have some people around, we'll do some community play, but I'm kind of feeling just like doing my own thing this evening. That said, let's jump right in. So yeah, this is Werewolf the Apocalypse Heart of the Forest, which is one of the 2 Werewolf the Apocalypse games coming out very soon. Please wait. Well, your cat crawls all over you. So yeah, I believe that the demo is just the prologue. I've been told. It's like 30 minutes or so, maybe. So. Rage, willpower, health. Okay. I recognize these things. Krynos. Sounds better. This game is about rage and how it helps us do things that need to be done, as well as things that we later regret, sometimes both. How do you feel about that? Should I answer this as myself, or should I answer this as my potential character? Because, great, I'm always angry. Might be a little too on the nose. I'm okay with anger when it's useful. Well, I prefer to think before I act. I'm going to go with I'm okay with anger when it's useful. You can always be angry and prefer to think before you act. I'm just going to point that out. Because I'm always angry. At least in 2020. I'm always angry. But I like to think before I act still. Your rage is balanced. Thank you. So you're the critical and analytical type. That's accurate. Okay. That's okay. There's no right path here. Just your decisions and their consequences. Let's start already. We have a story to tell. I get it. My decisions need to be fair and just. Let's just follow the path and see where it takes us. Oh, I'm not very spiritual, apparently. The forest. The woods are full of stars. They flicker and come closer, run away. They want me to chase them, to play hide and seek. Oh, I saw. Little Krynos action there. Okay. I watch as they dance around the tree trunks, floating up on the gusts of wind that shiver through the branches, disappear among the leaves. There are words in their dance, but I don't understand them, not yet. Then they bunch up and fly toward me like an arrow. Rushing down, they're soon upon me, but just before the spear of light pierces my breast, they disappear and the dark of the night returns. Balanced. In the darkness, I feel the tangled roots of stories keeping the forest alive, and I hear the spirits asking me to judge the enemy. I open my eyes, and then I wake up. Ahmed. Cold and alone. Confused, I open my eyes. The forest around me is thick, dark, and reeks of decay to such an extent that it's hard to breathe. I know this place. I've been dreaming about this forest since I was a child. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in the dark-leaved ivy, are covered in ripples of lichen where the vines haven't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base are overrun with nettles. The fungi radiate with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms cling to the fallen trees. We do have a name now. Maya. Let's see. I try to breathe. I'm cold or something is wrong. I try to breathe. I take a deep breath and suddenly realize that it's not the forest that smells so foul. It's me. Sorry, I have a cat. Cats are important. I have to pet Shiva. I look down and see my hands covered in a dark substance. I'm naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid is clinging to my skin. I can feel it on my face, in my hair. Blood. I'm alert. Nature is never quiet. The leaves rustle in the wind. Hold on, let's see if this works. I didn't want to pick her up. She's comfy. Nature is never quiet. The leaves rustle in the wind. Small creatures scuttle on the undergrowth. There is a whisper. I don't understand what it means, but the word resonates in my head. Garu. Who said that? There's a severed head right in front of me. I wince and touch it. Jeez, okay. Overcoming my disgust, I gently touch its wet hair and watch as the head topples over. Some choices are hard to make, and they strain your willpower. The face is contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open as though the head were still struggling for air. I balk because I recognize who it is, and then eyes open in the darkness. Who is it? I can see their silhouettes, shades of jet black against the darkness. They smell of fur and moss and bloodied earth. Massive creatures, some with horns, some with antlers. Their eyes burn like small, fiery windows into hell. I look at them, and something wakes up inside me. Sadness. They tell me stories of their lost battles and dying hopes, and I sink with sorrow. I sit and listen and cry with them. Then I swear to punish those who have wronged them. In a moment of clarity, I almost understand what the forest wants from me. And then I wake up. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I guess it's not just the prologue you play. Art is gorgeous. I'm going to say that right now. I will be providing running commentary. And then I'll give a kind of my overall reaction at the end. So, Maya Borodich. Okay. I do know that the team developing this game is from Poland, I want to say. Eastern Europe. And it is set there, so. Maya, wake up. High rage. I jerk upright, irritated. My neck was stiff, and the movement sent a sudden, sharp wave of discomfort through my body. I wasn't in the forest anymore. I was sat on a bus. The sun streaming through the windows was making it hard to see. The girl next to me was touching my shoulder, disturbed. Do I want to spend my willpower to avoid pushing her away? I think I do. Yes. I think I knew that. Yeah. What happened? Overcoming the urge to push her away was hard. Overcoming your rage strains your willpower. And now I have no willpower left. She looked at me, concerned. You were crying in your sleep. I blinked. The memory of the dream was still there, and the wet stench of decay. Weird that this isn't like past tense. I must have bitten my lip, I thought, as I ran my tongue over my teeth. The forest outside the window was watching me. The girl next to me shook her head. Thank God, we're almost there. Her name was Anya. We'd met a couple of weeks earlier in the orientation day. She was from Norway, a tall, broad-shouldered, calm person who wore her long hair in braids. Somehow, I'd managed to talk her into this crazy field trip across the land of my ancestors. We were there to study medicine, or she seemed excited. Anya reached into her backpack and took out 2 apples. I'm really happy we decided to come here, she said. Yeah, I said, offering some of my kabanosi, dried, meaty sausages that were so much better than the original Polish ones back in the US. I was glad Anya had decided to come with me. I had problem keeping friends around, really needing. I did some searching, she said, from over her phone, and this place is amazing. The last primordial forest in Europe. This is Heart of the Wild, the upcoming Werewolf the Apocalypse video game. It's more of a narrative one, as opposed to Earthblood, which is an action game. You can also type !game in chat. More information. A summer language course was starting in a few weeks. Ow. Thanks, Kat. Our summer language course was starting in a few weeks, and I'd managed to talk Anya into skipping the tour of concentration camps and old churches and visit Blajowieza National Park with me instead. So far, it's beautiful, she said, her eyes smiling, but why are we here again? Why were we there? There being Blajowieza, a small village in northeast Poland near the border with Belarus. It was famous for its national park, the very last European bison, and, according to a quick web search, occasional tensions between the far-right troublemakers and the local Belarusian community. The most honest answer would have been, because I've been dreaming about the forest in Blajowieza since I can remember, but people didn't understand when I said things like that. I looked her in the eyes. Oh, I can't give that one because I'm out of willpower already. Oh. I wanted to see the forest. I heard it was a must. That wasn't technically a lie. Interesting. I like the stuff like popping up, showing me kind of stats and reactions and things like that. When I was little, my grandfather told me stories about an ancient forest full of wonders and the wolves that lived in it. It was all I got from that part of the family before my mom took me, ran away, and cut off all contact with my dad. But I remembered the stories well, and I remembered the name of the forest. Uzuska Blajowieza. Hopefully that's close. I apologize if anyone is Polish or speaks Polish and I butchered that. This will always be our home, my grandfather used to say. Anya fell silent for a moment. I think it's great that you come from such a magical place, she smiled. The last ancient forest in Europe, thousands of years old. I wasn't sure if I was fond of that magic, but it was hard to ignore. Anya joined you. That was like ominous little font. And that was precisely why I needed to do something, anything about that damn forest and my weird-ass family. My grandfather's stories, the secrets, my mother running away, there was a mystery in my past. It was time I uncovered the truth about who I was, but now I wasn't so sure if it had been a good idea. Your willpower dropped to 0. When you lose all your health or willpower, you become impaired. This will make physical tasks, if you have 0 health, or social and mental tasks, if you have 0 willpower, harder and sometimes impossible. Blajowieza looked like an overexposed photo of a village with the contrast turned all the way up. The sun wasn't just shining, it was shouting at the earth. And everything, the trees, the grass, the wooden houses, the fences, seemed weathered. Everything except the shadows. They were sharp, as though they were freshly printed with the darkest of inks. And they moved. For a second, I could have sworn they'd moved, but then I realized it was just a black cat walking down the sidewalk. When it saw me, it stopped in its tracks. I tried to pet it. There's only one acceptable option here. Here, kitty, kitty, I said, squatting and reaching towards the cat. In a flash, it swatted my hand away with its paw, drawing a few drops of blood. I yelped. Hey, Maya, Anya said, looking at me surprised. Didn't you say your friend would be waiting for us? Didn't get to pet the cat. Well, this game is terrible, and I give it 0 stars. But he wasn't there, and the cat was still staring at me. Let's go, Anya put on her backpack. I'm tired, and I really, really need to find a toilet. I didn't know what to do. I was too tired and distracted to think clearly. My friend was nowhere in sight, but the meeting was just too important. Let's just wait a little longer, I said. I don't have his number, and we really need to meet up with him. His name was Bartek. I'd met him online while researching Bioveska. The man knew everything there was to know about local history. I asked him to check if anyone in town remembers my grandparents. I hope he's found something. I really need to pee, Anya said, like I was a 5-year-old and not a very bright one. I made my best puppy dog eyes. Ah! Let's just wait a few more minutes, please, pretty please. I made my best puppy dog eyes. It's important. Anya just looked at me and walked away. I grabbed my backpack and timidly followed her, too tired to argue. Rip. Bed and breakfast. Bioveska had a few hotels and hostels, but the preferred form of accommodation was bed and breakfast. I found one that was nice and clean and that had good reviews. We had a room on the second floor with a huge window and a great view of the forest. We dropped off our stuff and freshened up a bit. Maybe we should have waited for your friend, Anya asked, concerned. I shrugged off. Fuck you, Anya. I shrugged. I'll find him sooner or later. Before you go, check out your character sheet. Look for it in the upper right corner of the screen. You can find a load of useful information about Maya, her background, personality, goals, and so on there. You can also check who your friends and who your enemies are. Bioveska was a quaint tourist town, but I had other things in mind. Well, let's check out our character sheet. Maya Borodich, age 24, student, American. I'm not very brave, apparently, so far. I'm inspiring. Not very analytical, but very spiritual and not cunning at all. Well, fuck your face. Mind and body. Condition. Impaired. Learn about your pursue to regain willpower. Okay, so I have to learn about my family history to regain willpower. Family, it's complicated. Anya is sympathetic. Cool. Lay of the land. Ah. It was dark in the woods, dark, humid, and chilly. The leaves didn't let through a lot of sunlight. Daniel looked at Anya and me over his shoulder. How do you like her? We'd met maybe 20 minutes earlier. Anya had Googled local guides, and he was apparently the best person to go if you wanted to see the forest, so I found him, and now we were here. I wasn't sure whom he meant. You mean the forest, I asked? Polish was a strange language that gave the most unexpected genders to objects and ideas. I meant Zuska, he gestured around us. The word sounded like the wind rustling in the leaves. Pushka. Pushka is the right word, not forest. Forests are like fields or orchards, cultivated. He spat as he said it. And Pushka, she is older than even the concept of fields. He was using the word as though it was a name. I looked at the Pushka again. I looked around with fresh eyes. Spiritual. I felt as though I'd entered an ancient tomb. Gigantic dead trunks were decomposing slowly around me. Young plants and colorful mushrooms sprouted from them. The trees that still lived stretched towards the sky like columns holding up the vaulted canopy, which blocked out all but a few rays of sunlight. There was a stillness, and there was movement, darkness and light. If spirits existed, that place would be swarming with them. I loved what I saw. There should be more places like this, I said earnestly. Or more of this place. Daniel lifted his head and looked me right in the eyes. Yes, you're right, he said with a serious expression. He was a strange guy, slender but muscular, not the CrossFit type. It was more the kind of strength you get from working all day long in the open. His skin was weather-beaten and bronzed by the sun, like tanned leather, and he moved in a very deliberate way. But his fingers were slim and delicate, his eyes were the strangest shade of yellow-green, and then I remembered why I was there. Perhaps he knew my family? Let's ask him about local legends. You look like you know all the local legends and folktales, I said. I'm not from here, but my family was, I continued, and I think something secret connects me to the place. I dream about the forest a lot. Daniel stopped abruptly and turned to me, watching me for a while. His nostrils flared, as though he were tasting the air. Yes, his face broke into a smile. I think our families might have known each other many winters past. Ushka still remembers. Come on, he started walking. I know exactly what you need to see. Willpower gauge. So I was right. There was something hidden in my family's past, and it seemed to have a lot to do with the forest. Every time you learn to do something significant that brings you closer to your goal, you regain willpower. With every step, I was getting closer to solving the mystery. We have to choose a path, he said. There's the old wolf den, or I could show you the barrows first, or a clearing that some folks call a place of power. We'll go to the tourist trap. We started walking, but after a few steps, he stopped abruptly, like he'd remembered something. Then he turned to me. But could you humor me, please? He asked. It depended. I don't know, I said slowly. Why don't you tell me what you want first? He ran his hand through the moss on a dead tree trunk, smelled his fingers, then reached into his pocket. He took out a small stone. It looked like one of those stones you treasure as a child and then grow out of, but he looked at the pebble as though it were still a treasure. The game tracks your decisions on how Maya approaches problems. They will accumulate and gradually reveal what kind of person she is, deep in her heart. Deep in her heart of the forest. Sorry. The story changed to reflect Maya's personality. Okay, cool. I would like you to take this stone, he held out his open hand toward me, and throw it in the direction you think we should go. Okay. I humored him. Okay, I said, reaching for the stone. I took the stone and closed my hand around it. Be careful, whispered Anya. Yeah. Yeah, it's a visual novel. It's a little more... a little more engaging in my mind than, what is it, Coders in New York? The vampire one? So far. Just because the story's a little better written overall. You haven't missed much. You just missed a little bit of the intro. It was warm, and I could feel it pulsating. I closed my eyes and thought about the place of power, trying to imagine that place. I felt light and smelled hot air. My hair stood on end. I threw the stone. My only complaint is that it's, like, very passive voice. It's like, I wish it was written in present tense. It'd just be a little more engaging, I think. I felt my hand rising entirely on its own, and then throwing the stone as far as I could. It was a good throw. The stone flew in a long arc over the bushes and disappeared without a trace in the dense undergrowth. Great, Daniel sighed. I was asking for that, wasn't I? What? What just happened? I was confused. The Pushka is sympathetic, apparently. You were accepted, he answered with a faint smile before he turned to head deeper into the forest. Okay. A buzzing in my ears. Hey, look, it's a wolf. Actually, it's 3 wolves. It's 3 wolf. It's 3 wolf moon. I started with the hair on the backs of... Audio really loud? Is it just me? I think it's just me. Anyway. Because I do have it cranked. Started with the hair on the backs of my hands rising. The air around me seemed brighter, lighter. The leaves and the tree trunks turned yellow and my skin started to prickle. Okay. I realized that I couldn't hear anything except for a low buzzing that was filling my ears. It's called, My bones were vibrating, full of an energy I couldn't contain. I had to do something. Snap out of it. I frowned. Stop, I said under my breath, sternly. And for a moment, the buzzing did stop, though I wasn't sure if it was because of my words or because I was distracted by a shadow among the trees. A few feet from me, there was a clearing. I could see the silhouette of a person moving slowly, deliberately there. Clearing was a plateau between huge boulders. Oh, hi, random person meditating. There were double-trunked trees between the rocks and an angular wooden construction that stuck out of the ground like a sore thumb. There was a bike leaning out. But more importantly, there was a man, and he was moving in a most beautiful, harmonious way I'd ever seen. I looked at him for a moment, at the way his muscles danced under his tan skin, trying to trace his movement. Before every grand gesture, every stretch, and every push, there was a micro-movement, an impulse from his core, but I could feel it was even deeper. The energy that had been filling me earlier took form. It was flowing in rhythm with his steps, with the flow of his hands. The words came out of my mouth, seemingly without my knowing. What did you do? He smiled. It's a little bit complicated. He stretched his hand towards me. I'm Cornell, he said, with a hard German accent, which I am not going to mimic. Shouldn't you be on the logging site? Daniel asked him after I introduced myself. I needed to center myself, he answered. The others are still there. Don't worry. How could you come here to center yourself? I asked, remembering the buzzing, restless energy from just moments before. This place is special, Daniel said. Some people call it a place of power, as I told you. And they have good reason to, Cornell added. Look around you. So I looked. It was a clearing filled with light. I could see Cornell's traces, a beautiful pattern on the ground, but there was one thing that caught my attention more than anything else. These rocks, someone brought them here, right? I asked, looking at the boulders, which upon closer inspection formed a circle. The stones were irregular and nestled deep in the ground. People believe this was a place of worship thousands of years ago, hence the fruit trees, the stone circle, and now the tower. And indeed, there's a lot of energy in this place. You felt it, didn't you? Pwah. Yeah, I felt it, I said without enthusiasm. The pushka is wounded and in pain, and it calls out in rage to anyone who can hear it. Here, this call is louder. You see the logging, his eyes darkened. Slaughter. Anya gasped quietly. Every priceless thing can be destroyed by greed. Logging is illegal, of course, but illegal is sometimes just a way of saying a bit more expensive, but still profitable, especially for huge corporations. The forest is hurt. The wound is getting bigger, and as is its desperation. Hey, my bravery finally went up. I clenched my fist. Someone should sabotage the whole thing. You can't log without tools, and buying new tools will get unprofitable at some point. Cornell regarded me for a moment with a faint smile. You have a connection with this forest, don't you? You should come to the logging site and meet everyone. Absolutely, Anya said eagerly. It could be the next step, even if there wasn't something. Even if it wasn't, something had to be fucking done about the logging situation. Yeah, I'll come, I smiled. Great. He jumped suddenly and looked at the wooden tower and the bike I'd noticed earlier. Die Schwalbe is getting restless, he said. And as Daniel pointed out, I should be on the logging site setting up the protest. Schwalbe? What is Schwalbe? I asked, confused. He named his bike Swallow, Daniel explained. He loves it very much. Oh, I do. Nice meeting you, Maya. The moment he disappeared, the buzzing came back. It wasn't as strong as before, but it was there. We went on through the greenery. The first thing I noticed when we stopped was a pine tree. A pine tree I knew. I remembered it. Small, twisted, crooked, and immensely powerful. It's a wolf's head. Interesting. Or face, I should say. Yeah, this is probably my favorite art piece so far. That's cool. It's majestic, I thought suddenly. Months before that, when I decided to come to Poland, I had dreamed of that tree. I was sure of it, just like I was sure that under its roots I'd find a burrow. A few feet away, another one, like two dark eyes gazing at me as I approached. Daniel passed me and approached the tree. He pressed his cheek against the trunk. Hello, he said quietly. Hello again. Hello again, I said quietly. Daniel looked at me with surprise, but he didn't comment. This is the den, Daniel announced. It's abandoned, of course, but still worth seeing. What happened? I asked. Humans happened, Daniel sighed. He sat under the tree, leaning his back against it. It was a hot spring morning when they found this den. No one knows who the men were, even though it was only one human generation ago. There were 6 cubs here under the roots of this tree. He stopped stuttering and seemed to enjoy telling the story. I enjoyed listening. And I enjoyed listening to it. There was something calming in his voice and the way he talked. His slow gestures and wistful eyes made me feel as though I was with the cubs on that hot spring morning. I don't think they wanted to hurt the wolves, he continued. They probably thought they'd been abandoned. That's why they took the cubs with them. Humans have this instinct that makes you try to befriend everything, especially if it's dangerous. You mean enslave, I answered sharply, pulling something from the world and forcing it to work for us. I hated it, but it was how it seemed to be. I'm not saying it always works out, but the intention is good, and I believe the men who kidnapped the wolves wanted to do something kind, he continued. Anyway, they took them. Out of the 6, 2 lived to see the cold summer that year. The wolf mother used to come to the farm they were at and howl. People went gray if they heard her. I knew that howl. And suddenly I heard that howl. I knew exactly how it sounded, and I felt despair and gnawing gnash at my soul. I remembered how the cubs had reacted. Every time she came, we threw ourselves at the door, biting, trying to break free, to escape. Maya, are you okay? Anya asked, putting her hand on my shoulder. I just feel for the cubs. I know a little about divided families myself. Oh, yeah, that usually ended the conversation. Daniel sighed, looking at the tree in the burrow. The cubs that survived were sold to some people in... Ajnolka? I don't know. But after a while, both of them ended up back in Biovesla with the scientists. They have a station in the national park. One of the wolves, Kazan, was a celebrity of sorts. If you saw any wolf photos from here, they were probably of Kazan. He was even on postcards. Uh-oh. The men should have left the cubs where they belonged, I said, exasperated. Why did they interfere? They wanted to be kind, Daniel repeated. You can't condemn kindness. There was a slight gust of wind, and the trees creaked. I remembered that sound from my dreams as well, a sound that made me feel safe. Will the wolves come back here? I looked at the empty den. Daniel frowned. No, they won't. This place is cursed for them. He looked at the burrows for a long time. This place is my friend, so I try to keep it important and respected. I think it's my mission, you know? I think I understand. Every family had a story worth remembering. Daniel looked at the tree one last time. Goodbye, he said. The forest is loyal to me now. And we left. We went on through the greenery. The trail soon disappeared. Sometimes we walked along a barely visible path made by some animals. Sometimes we followed a stream or a gully, but for most of our trek we walked through the dense undergrowth. I was keenly aware that without Daniel, I'd have been totally and utterly lost, and I didn't feel good about that realization. The sun was barely noticeable through the dense canopy, and I had no idea which direction we were going anyway. It was a pleasant walk. There was always a path through the brambles. The ground was even, and the branches stayed out of our way. I almost felt like the forest wanted us to find the way. I watched the efficient and deliberate way Daniel moved and tried to guess his background. Why had he become a guide? Where are you from? I asked the obvious question. From around here, he's made a vague gesture. Are you a professional guide? That's what I do for a living. He wasn't very talkative. Leave him be, whispered Anya. I'll use my willpower. Suddenly it all came together, and I realized what was so unusual about him. The way he moved. It was so natural, so effortless. No one who spent their childhood sitting all day at school or in front of a screen could move that way. Who are you, Daniel? I asked, bewildered. Were you raised by wolves, or what? He looked me straight in the eyes, his irises mesmerizing, both yellow-green. Yes, I was, he said with a poker face. Then he winked. Anya smiled uneasily. We continued in silence. We'd been walking for a while when I noticed that Daniel's steps had become slower. He was also looking around more often and hunched slightly. Are we there yet? I asked. He froze for a second as though he'd forgotten that I was there. They're tricky to find sometimes, he mumbled. Please be quiet for a minute. That's when I felt it. Ash in my mouth, the smell of smoke and wet soil, and a pull. I think I know where to go, I said, surprised. He tilted his head. Okay, let's check it out. I pointed to the barely visible path to my left, under a dying tree. He followed me, and I followed my feet, knowing exactly where they should go. Under the crooked tree, past the dead tree trunk and the sponge-like mushrooms, across the patch of wet, dark green moss, all the way to a place that didn't look much different than other parts of the forest, until you noticed the elevations. There was something about the flattened hills that drew my full attention. A memory stirred in my mind. No, it wasn't a memory. It was a feeling anchored in my chest, akin to the taste of ash in my mouth and the smell of smoke, longing, sadness, resignation. But there was more. A sense of sacredness. It filled me with a calm excitement, and when I closed my eyes, I saw a fire burning in the darkness. The village was long gone, its houses burned to the ground, its people slaughtered, but the spirits were still there. They'd acclimated over time, some in ancient Roman armor, some in rags, some in animal skins, some in uniforms from the world wars, some in modern camo. Are we dead? Where are we? They asked me with frantic voices. Is this hell? Interesting. But they weren't real, just echoes of the past. The spirits in the trees were real. When I opened my eyes, Daniel was watching me. You were somewhere else, he said. You said you had family here? I heard that my father's family came from here, I nodded. I don't know much about them, though. He sighed. I don't think you should be here, she said tersely. You're not ready? I think that meant he. Why? What do you know? I wasn't letting it go. About you? Not much, but I know about the Pushka. The past is close here. His eyes were worried as he looked at me, and if the Pushka calls to you, it's wise to listen, but it's not wise to get lost in the voices. Come. On the way back, I was lost in my thoughts. The voices in the vision knew what I had to do. It was almost as though it was expected of me. Why had Daniel asked about my family? Was the vision showing me what my ancestors had done here? Goal progressed. I smiled. A bigger picture was finally starting to come to light. Magic was in my blood. The walk back was uneventful. The B&B was quaint. When we got back, we were both drained. We were soon curled up in our beds. What a day, Anya yawned. So what do you think? I made a quick mental inventory of everything that had happened that day. The wolf cubs that were kidnapped and died in captivity, I sighed. The story stayed with me, you know? Anya raised her eyebrows. Yeah, that was weird. Soon we were both asleep. I was tired, sure, but also excited, and excitement isn't the best for sleep. I lay there for a while thinking about everything that had happened and that might happen next. The wind from the open window lapped over my skin as I watched the silver rectangle painted on the wall by the moonlight. Two black holes underneath a crooked tree stare into the night, quiet and vigilant. I feel the excitement rising deep within my stomach and then throughout my whole body. I am a razor-sharp knife. I am a sword. I am a gun waiting to be fired. I'm asleep for now, but soon someone will use me, and I can't wait. I feel a pull, and I surrender to it. I am pointed toward a clearing. There are piles of fresh corpses of people who died too young, skinned, and mutilated. Their loved ones stand around them, grieving, unable to do anything, waiting. And suddenly, they are just trees and tree trunks. That's cool art, too. I look at the moon and I howl. The trees are dead, and I'm the only one left to sing their story. There is a stench in the air like meat rotting in acid, but somehow worse. I see the monstrous army. Their mandibles are whirring chainsaws. Their long metal arms are wrapped with black pipes that look like glistening intestines. Their smell is vile. They wait unmoving. Spent some rage. Interesting. I go to the dead trees and kneel next to them. Words come to me in a language that I don't remember, but that I know. Words about revenge and death and sacrifice. And then my voice tells me to look at the sky. There, between the stars, two shapes circle each other. An old, sad wolf with gray hair and a white weasel. They keep their eyes on one another as they continue their dance. Suspicious, but not hostile. We need to fight the enemy, the awful, rotting stench. I know that much. But how can we do that when we don't trust each other? They stop. They look at me and the clearing. I don't want to spend my willpower. I gaze at them just like they gaze at me. Now the three of us are all measuring each other. They descend to the opposite side of the clearing. One by one, other shadows join them all. I stand in the middle of it all. You have finished Heart of the Forest demo version. Okay, interesting. Thank you for playing the demo of Werewolf the Apocalypse Heart of the Forest. The Maya you played was a storyteller born under the gibbous moon. Cool. Okay. Interesting. I love the art a lot. I enjoyed that. So, I don't think I've said it in private conversations, but I don't like Coteries in New York. I don't enjoy that style of game all that much, and this style of game, but I just wasn't engaged by Coteries in New York. I bought it and started playing it, and was just kind of like, I like this a lot more. This was a little more engaging to me. It could be because I'm a little bit of an environmentalist, so it immediately grabbed me there. But overall, I greatly enjoyed the just the way the story was told. The art was gorgeous, as I mentioned multiple times, which is very important in a game like this. It needs to engage you, and I liked that it wasn't static. There was something going on within the art pretty much constantly. Things would change as I was clicking on things. I like that you build the character's personality through your dialogue responses, and that changes how the game plays. I think that'll be really cool once it comes out. The demo was short. I'll probably play through it a couple more times on my own. Just to get a sense of what different dialogue options do. Since it's, it's not the full game, I'm not gonna screw up my game by clicking on random stuff. But I liked it. I'll probably stream it in full when it comes out. So yeah, that's my take on it, anyways. I know Mark and Rick also wanted to play it and check it out, so I will let them give their own impressions of it at some point. Maybe all three of us will hop on stream and chat about it next week. But yeah, I dig it. I also just realized I never turned on my closed captioning. I want to apologize for that, although I was reading the text on the screen for most of it. So you didn't really need it, did you? I'm trying to get on now. There. that should work. Fashion work. It'll fix itself in a second. All right. Cool. Yeah, like I said, I dig it. I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was well done. This one I'll play. I'm interested to check out Shadows of New York as well when that comes out, because I've heard it's better than Coteries for whatever reasons. But yeah, this was only the demo. Heart of the Forest is over on Steam. You can wishlist it. I believe it's supposed to come out this year, so probably in the next couple months. It's listed as Q4 2020, so November, December. Yeah. Well done. I enjoyed it. I think it'll be a good addition to all of the World of Darkness games coming out in the near future, because Bloodlines is going to be very much like the traditional Bloodlines, so you're going to see more combat, more... You're a vampire, you're a kindred, you're a manipulative creature of the night. And Earthblood is much more violent action game. So it looks like it's going to play more like in one of the Batman Arkham games, or what's that game? Prototype, that game. So this will be more. I don't want to say Werewolf Pro Skater 1. So Tony Hawk Pro Skater comes out next week. I will not be streaming it, but I will be playing it. I think this will be a nice, more of an artistic and introspective addition to the games. It's more serious, I feel. Definitely dark. I like the story. It's definitely a horror game, which it's what we do. So I'm into it. I'm definitely gonna stream it. This is cool. Good job, Different Tales. So that said, I'm going to take a short break and actually go make myself some more tea. And when I come back, we're gonna play another game. I think we're gonna play a little Unfortunate Spacemen, see how that goes. So stick around, don't go anywhere. I'll be back very quickly. Thank you.